Well, welcome. Tonight we're going to see the side of Milford that unfortunately doesn't get talked about enough. Special people taking care of special kids in special ways. Let's start with an introduction.
I'm Jennifer Walsh, coordinator of the Milford Area Special Olympics and Transition Vocation Coordinator for Milford Public Schools.
I'm Lisa Kincaid, and I work for Milford Public Schools as well, but I'm here tonight as a parent of a child who has disabilities.
Now, what was that second title you have?
Transition Vocation Coordinator for Milford Public Schools.
Okay, what are you transitioning?
Helping our students on IEPs transition to adult services or college or the workforce.
So
It all
when they
depends on the student.
age out of Milford High,
Mhm.
which is what, 21?
It depends on the student. Some leave at 18, some leave after 4 years. Some of our students with autism graduate with their high school diploma and go into either college or the workforce. So we hook them up with everything they need when they leave as far as services go. And then for our students with intellectual disabilities, they don't leave until they can stay until they're 22. But we do have adult services come to their meetings and transition so that the families are aware of what's going to happen when they leave the public school setting.
Overall, if somebody was to say Special Olympics, special needs in Milford, how does the community rate? What would you say?
Oh, top of the line if you ask me. I mean, I think we're top of the line because I work with a lot of other towns and a lot of other schools and a lot of other programs, and Milford has so much more to offer than the majority of towns and cities. And even Boston didn't have unified Special Olympics until this year. They're creating it. Lowell, Lawrence, the big cities, they don't have it. They're just starting to come on to offering these programs for their individuals. So, but Milford has done it for as long as I know, 30 years I've been doing it. So.
Well, the last 3 decades you've been the face of Special Olympics in this area. What started you down that road?
When I was younger, I worked at a camp for individuals with disabilities, and it became my passion through the years to make sure that all individuals had equal opportunities. So I wanted individuals, at the time I was working with, in sub-separate classrooms in Newton, and I wanted them to have the same opportunities as everybody else when they went home. So their brother and sisters were not coming home after school, they were going to a sport, or chorus, or band practice, or something like that. And our individuals were going home. And I wanted them to have the same opportunities as everybody else, which is why I became passionate about the Special Olympics programming.
But when I hear the special needs, I think all kids are special needs.
Mm-hmm.
We've always talked about the top 10% of the academic kids. They have special needs. It's just some kids have different special needs than others. As a parent, how do you find the special needs resources in Milford?
I think they're great. I really think we have such a great community, in our schools and in the community in general, and there's so many opportunities for our students. And I love what you said, Al, like everyone has different learning abilities, everyone is special, and everyone has strengths. And I think that's what really happens in Milford. Everyone is seen as an individual. And what I love is, my son is now at the high school, and he walks down the hallway and he says hello to our students, and students know who he is, and they're high-fiving him, they're having lunch with him. And I think it's because of the community, it's because of the educators we have, it's because of Jen and the programming that really embraces that. So no longer is that stigma of, oh no, that's a child with special needs, or that child looks different and they're sitting in the corner. Our students are embraced. They're part of the community. They feel it. They're excited. They are, our neurotypical students see them and they get excited to see them. But I think it's a great opportunity. And I think, like Jen said, there's a lot of programming for students. So not even, if you're not, an athlete, that's okay. There's other things for students. So there's an art program, there's dance, there's music, there's so many other things students are welcome to be a part of.
Well, one thing that has been consistent, at least my lifetime, I've never seen town meeting members turn down something we need for our kids.
Mhm.
And it doesn't matter if they're the next NFL football player kid or, a special needs kid that it's hard to explain unless you've been there. I mean, I got conned into getting involved many years ago when Jen called me and said, I need your help. I know you're already coaching 2 or 3 soccer teams, but can you point out somebody that would coach and start our soccer program for the special needs kids, Special Olympics? When do you need to know? Oh, this afternoon. What am I going to do? I was scared to death. Scared to death that I would let these kids down. I found out later from my daughter that Jen had called Lexi and said, how do I get your father to coach our team? And she said, simple, tell him if he doesn't, the kids won't play. But it's that passion. You couldn't say no. And it didn't matter who the kids were. But I have to admit one thing. I was blessed. For the 14 years I coached, I had great parents. Very supportive in all the teams. But nobody as much as the special needs parents. There was something magic about, and I was scared to death because I had never worked with special needs kids. But the minute you got there, the kids would never say no. If they weren't doing what you were saying, it's because they didn't understand.
Mhm.
And that was such a pleasant change from having 12 and 13-year-old girls who were just going through that time of life when they had to say no just on general principles. And the families. I hate to stereotype people, but they were so appreciative. The smallest little thing I did, they went out of their way to thank me. And it was hard to explain to them that volunteering, I can pretend I'm doing it for the kids. But after that first season, I got more back from the kids.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, there was nothing so satisfying as when they go, hey coach. You always got wonderful, positive reinforcement from the kids.
And you came on back when we were starting to grow the programs. You know what I mean? And there weren't a lot of opportunities for our individuals at the time. We only had a couple sports. I think we had soccer, we had basketball and track, and you were the third sport that we started. So you came back way back in the beginning. Now we have a lot more.
How many kids are involved in Milford Special Olympics?
So, but from our young athletes program, from our young athletes, school day games, and all our community sports and unified sports, we have over 300 athletes
Wow.
and 50 coaches and 70 volunteers.
50 coaches.
Mhm.
You have come a long way.
I have come a long way, because remember, I had 3 coaches, 1 basketball, 1 track, and 1 soccer. Yeah.
Now, how do you, I would imagine that you never have enough volunteers.
No, we never have enough volunteers. We can always use more volunteers at our programming. And in our unified sports, we need more high school students involved in our unified sports programming too.
What is unified sports?
Unified sports is kids with and without disabilities playing on the same team. So we have some unified sports opportunities at the high school. We also have them in the community on some of our teams too, like our flag football team's unified, powerlifting, a bunch of our different bowling's unified, swimming has been unified. Lexi's coached unified swimming. And so we have a bunch of unified opportunities in the community as well as in the school system.
Now, the Special Olympics, this goes all the way to national, right?
Yes, it does. Yeah.
'Cause I
And
remember-
world. We have one athlete that went to China.
Really?
Matt Grimes went to China. Yep.
I remember when the state asked Lexi to coach in Washington, it was, the Special Olympics.
In Seattle, we went to
It
Seattle.
was Seattle.
Yeah.
Because everybody was so proper, walking out, holding the signs, perfect lines.
It's a big stage when you
And-
go into those USA games.
But then out comes Massachusetts, and there's one Fruit Loop jumping up and down,
That's
dancing.
yours.
I looked at Sharon, I said, "That's your daughter." And sure enough, when they zoomed in, it was like, yes, the crazy one is mine.
She was as excited as the athletes to be there.
Well, it's funny because I enjoyed every aspect of coaching the Special Olympics soccer. But there was something that the kids and Lexi, there was a bond that when she came on the field, you could just see them light up. And she lit up. So, people who are scared like I am, because I was scared I'd let the kids down. I didn't know anything about coaching special needs kids. I'm glad I did.
I think every new coach I get says that to me. When I'm looking like I needed a flag football coach this year, and I was struggling finding one, and I ended up getting this wonderful young man stepped up to coach my flag football team. He was scared. He was nervous. It was the time of his life, and he cannot wait till next year. And his team made it to play in the finals at Gillette.
Oh, wow.
And they brought home gold.
You
I
know-
said, "You're pretty good for your first year." What were you nervous about?
But that's the funny part when people say, well, the kids don't care whether they get ribbons or medals.
Oh, yes, they do.
Oh, yeah. Every time we went, I think we used to go to Harvard for the swim thing.
Yeah,
And they had that little booth where they took pictures.
yeah. You put your medal on, you got your medal or you got your ribbons. The athletes do care.
It was a gold medal. To them, it was a gold medal. And to the parents, you'd see how proud they are of their kids. But this must have an impact on well, I'll ask you as the mother. Being involved in the sports and the other pieces, how's that affected Caleb?
He loves it. It provides him like that peer group. So he gets excited. He's so proud. We did, last year was our first year up at the high school, and he did unified basketball. It was amazing. He loved the team. He loved the coaches. He felt like he was a part of something. And, sometimes they didn't win their games and they were a little down. But I even see him as an athlete growing much better this year than he was last year. I can see him. He's more focused. He's into the game. He's getting the balls. He's stealing it. And it was just really amazing. And it's nice as a parent when you're sitting there because you feel like, wow, my child belongs, right? Because, as a parent of a special needs child, you're not always welcomed. Right, so sometimes you're out in the community and something's going on and your child may be struggling a little bit and you're getting looks from people or some people just, it's like you said, sometimes it's like anxiety, like they don't know how to interact with people with special needs. And that really, our Special Olympics is one place where the kids can just be themselves and have fun. And that's all they want. They want to be loved and accepted. And I think I've just seen Caleb grow so much, and he feels so proud. And he wants to wear his Milford, shirts around. And I'm buying every, sports shirt there is that says Milford Hawks because he's a Milford Hawk. And I have to say, last year our unified team ended up playing at the Boston Garden. It was amazing for our kids. They were so excited to play on the court. And our unified partners on both teams were wonderful. Those high school kids that played with our special athletes, they were allowing them to take, shots as many times as they could so they can say they took a shot, at the Boston Garden. But that was an experience that our kids may never be able to have, and they had this opportunity because of the programs we have.
That's sad that you still have people who react negatively.
Yeah.
That's what I say that sometimes. You think that after all these years you still wouldn't have to advocate, but you do. You still have to advocate. We still have to create these opportunities for our individuals. You know what I mean? And people just need to see for themselves. So we just keep going. That's why I love Special Olympics, because it offers so much more than just the sports. It offers many opportunities as far as socially, independence when they go away on these weekends or these week-long trips, the independent skills, the things they bring home from talking to media and playing on a big arena and all these wonderful experiences that they've had that they wouldn't otherwise get. It teaches a lot.
It's a surprise because when Lexi got married, when my oldest daughter got married, she goes, Dad, I'd like to invite my special needs families. Do you think that would be an issue? And I remember looking at her saying, if anybody has an issue with them, it's a personal problem.
Yeah.
And yeah, Lisa, we were ready for a kid, freaking out just because
Yep.
it is what it is. Some kids have a hard time in certain social situations. But you could not tell.
They danced their heart out that night.
Oh,
I'll
God.
tell you that.
You couldn't tell the special needs kids from the typical kids. And to me, that was a success.
That's why the programs like Unified Sports and Special Olympics, Best Buddies, things like that give our individuals the opportunities to they're the same as everybody else. They learn differently.
Now, you mentioned Best Buddies. What's the difference?
Best Buddies is a friendship program, so it gives students one-on-one opportunities for friendship as well as socializing opportunities like dances and trips and things like that. The difference is a different Shriver brother runs that one that runs the Special Olympics, and Special Olympics has been around a lot longer, but Best Buddies is growing. So it's another way for individuals that maybe, they don't want to do a sport, but they want to go to dances and they want to.
So it gives them the socializing
It's another opportunity to have equal opportunity like everybody else to have dances. Now they have their sports because Special Olympics is used in Milford. Then we bring in Best Buddies. Now they have their dances and their social outings and their movie nights and their the other opportunities that it lends. And a lot of our Best Buddies pairs are friends for life. They still keep in touch years later. That they still do things together. It's friendship.
It's being a typical
It's
kid.
being a typical kid, and so that's why we need all these programs so that everybody has an opportunity and not just someone who wants to play a sport. That's why our Unified Art program, like Lisa said, the drama program that was just created was wonderful. And we have, there's a lot of many opportunities that have stemmed from starting Special Olympics and then spread out because
Well, one of them that sticks out is the talent show.
the pageant.
The
That
pageant.
started years ago because one of our individuals in the Vogue program wanted to be a model. She wanted to be in a pageant. We signed her up for this national pageant that they have for people with intellectual disabilities. And the week before, she didn't get her email come. So I called and they said, we don't have her. She can't be a part of it. So we created our own pageant, and that's how that
They
started.
turned down a kid. Shame on them.
Yeah, but we created our own, and look what started from
Well,
it.
I mean, again, do you have lemons, you make lemonade.
Yep.
Because that pageant is
Yeah.
outstanding.
Yeah, and it's been going on for years and years now, and it's an event that everyone looks forward to, and our individuals can showcase their strengths
Yeah, I mean,
and their talents.
I've seen such a variety,
Mm-hmm.
and it's when my daughters were on stage at Milford Performing Arts, it was Broadway to me. I know it wasn't. It's like when they first started playing the violin, sounded like they were pulling the tail off small farm animals. But to us, to Sharon and I, it was symphony. So the same thing with that pageant. When you see people like Ronnie Ozier that seems to always be helping out, and the other teachers that jump in and help out.
Ronnie Osha's been helping us for 30 years.
Oh, wow.
Poor guy got roped in and has never left.
Well, you've taught certain people well because I get the calendar invite. And it's like, well, Dad, I know if you're busy, it's only special needs. They don't need pictures. It's like, take the knife out of my heart. But again, going to those dances. The good news is it's hard to say that's a special needs or a Best Buddies dance because it's just a dance.
It's a dance.
Right.
The kids are
It's
running
another
around.
opportunity
And
for everybody to socialize and have fun.
how many children are in the special needs community in Milford?
Oh my
Do you have any
God.
idea?
I think it's like 8. I want to say.
I'm not sure.
I think it's like 700.
Wow.
That's,
On IEPs, right? Like 700 and something.
yeah.
Now, when you say on
But it could be
IEP,
more.
when you say on IEPs,
Mhm.
for the people who don't understand what that means,
So those are all students that have either an IEP or a 504, and they're in our special education program. So an IEP is an individual education plan where there's a team that works with the student to give them every opportunity to accomplish their educational goals and their visions for life.
so basically, it's a professional who is working with other professionals to diagnose and develop a plan. When I say diagnose, I mean what educational opportunities should we offer
Yeah.
to get the best.
Right.
I mean, Lexi put it to me in a profound way when she said, you know, Dad, my job as an educator is to get the best out of each child. Now, all of my children, because your first one was her kids, all of her kids have different levels that they'll achieve.
Mhm.
But she said, if I do nothing more than get them to that level, I've done my job.
Mhm.
And I'll always push them a little bit more. And that to me summed it up to say, this is what we want. Because every kid will be different in an individualized education
And
program.
everybody's goals are different.
Right.
You know, and that IEP is just somebody taking the time who has the background to say, this child would do better with this or with that.
And it takes a team, so you want input from everybody, the parents, the student. At age 14, students attend the meetings. And we have now, at the high school, our kids present at their IEP meetings. Because it's their vision, their goals, and not everybody is good at verbalizing in front of everybody, so they put together a PowerPoint before they come with all their vision, their goals, and then they present it. And they have that visual to help them present it at the meeting, so.
But fundamentally, you're making a life change for these kids.
Right.
Because, again, kids who need help, when the parents age out, you know, it gets to a point where the parents are gone or they can't provide the help anymore. Somehow these kids have to survive.
So that's why we do the transition part of the job, where we invite adult services to our IEP meetings and make sure the connections are all made before they left, and not just say, hey, here's who you need to talk to when he turns 22. We make those connections, they attend the meetings, they know the goals and the visions and what they need, and then there's a plan before they leave.
But you're teaching them life skills. I mean, something we take for granted, counting money, doing a budget. You just assume that by the time you're 21, you know how to do that. That's not a great assumption for everybody.
No,
Right.
no, and that's why you do have to assess everybody individually and see what their needs are and make sure they have the tools before they leave, or at least someone that can help them with the tools before they leave.
And now we've got, what is it, the bistro,
Pre-voke,
where they learn how to,
They're cooking and,
they're cooking
making
and
meals.
baking
Yeah.
meals and running a little restaurant.
And because of that program, I have a little restaurant in my house. So Caleb will come home and he wants to set the tables. He wants to serve us. He'll sit us down and put the napkins on our laps. He'll pretend he's taking our orders.
he likes a restaurant.
He likes a restaurant.
He loves a restaurant.
But that's a lot of the work the students are doing, and I think that's what makes the program so unique, and for us to see as parents, because they're not just learning math in isolation or reading, like they're using functional. So they're learning how to use those money skills, what to do if, someone gives them a $20 bill, how do they make that change, but it's in real practical situations. And I think sometimes where school could be frustrating for our students is that they're sitting in a classroom and they're not realizing, why am I learning to read, why am I learning to count money, and they're actually seeing why, because
In the
it's
abstract, it
functional.
doesn't make sense.
Right.
And they're learning to use the tools they have, like almost every student has a phone, calculator on the phone. We don't expect them to be able to do the math in their head, we teach them how to use the phone, their calculator. We have reading apps on the phone, so if someone struggles with reading, the app can read for them. Things like that, so we incorporate the tools that they already have and to help them function, function academically.
Now, we have the restaurant, the bistro, to teach a lot of practical skills. Do I understand we have a candy store to teach them other practical?
We do. During COVID, there was, a lack of programming for our individuals. A lot of the day programs closed, and a lot of our individuals were leaving at 22 with no programming. So the Aaron Zenas Foundation, we decided as a foundation to start something vocationally so that our students could still train and be employed when they leave at 22. So we have a store called Sweet Inspirations on Central Street in Milford. We have 6 employees right now, and 2 store managers that help, and job coaches that help work with our individuals. It's a specialty candy store.
On Central Street. So rotund people like me can pretend they're helping the kids.
There's
and go
sugar-free candy too, Al. It's a great place, and we do, they do more than just sell candy. They do party favors, they do platters for people. We do arts and crafts nights during the different holidays. Santa comes, we have the Easter Bunny, we have different events. We had the Unified Art Show there, so at the end of our Unified Art program, they did an art show at the store, and everybody came in and saw all their artwork that was displayed. We've done, it functions as just a home for our individuals after high school.
But what a wonderful way for the community to say, I don't have a child. And don't get me wrong, but I hope that, my grandchildren and all never need special needs help, either on one end or the other. But if I want to help and I don't have children involved, I can go down and get a platter. I can go down and buy some candy.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Or make a donation.
Or if you have a party coming up, let us know. We'll make it more festive.
So, again, a way of helping out in a special way.
Yeah, and you can meet our wonderful employees while you're down there.
Overall, does Milford do enough for special needs?
I think.
Obviously,
so.
we could always do more.
Oh yeah, we always
right?
want more.
We could always
but I don't
want more.
But Milford,
But I think we do a lot.
We do a lot. We could always. I think because I always look to improve myself, so I think every program could do better. But just.
Well, I was always happy at the way we approached the financial requirements of special needs.
Yeah.
Because you read about typical parents being pitted against special needs parents in the budgets. We had somebody on town meeting get up and say that we're attracting people with special needs kids to Milford because we offer so many programs. I remember how I answered that. How would you answer that?
I really don't know how I'd answer that, but I don't.
Politely, please.
Yeah, because I don't see, for me, there's nothing wrong with that. If I had a child with special needs, I would move wherever they would get the best services. Or you always look for a good school system for your child, no matter where you want to live. You know what I mean? You're looking. My son had to move to Western Mass for his job. The first thing he looked for was a good school system, and that's where he went. I mean, that's a compliment. That's not a bad thing.
No.
To me, that's a compliment. I know that, I don't think that it's a bad thing for people to want to live in Milford. I don't blame them.
No, and I could see a taxpayer saying, Jen, if you put a program in and there's no need in Milford, there's no Milford kids that are going to take advantage of it, then you can't use Milford dollars. But I don't see any programs that aren't full of Milford kids.
No, no, it's true. I mean, for us, it is all about the Milford residents, but in order to like, sometimes with Special Olympics, like we service, but we also fundraise for our programming. So we fundraise for all our programs for Special Olympics, And we do have individuals from other towns, but here's the thing. Special Olympics is by age and level. So if we have a team of 8 to 15 or 8 to 12, depending on the sport, we don't have enough 8 to 12-year-olds in Milford to make a team of kids that want to play basketball. So you want to open it up so that we can make a team for our kids in Milford. You know, so basketball, we have 5 teams because we have 5 different levels. We have different ages, different levels. But if we don't open it up, then there wouldn't be a team for them to
See,
play.
and I think that's what people don't understand.
But we
is
also fundraise for all the programming, and we fundraise a lot every year to continue to support any individual that wants to participate.
And that's another thing that I've always felt good about Milford. They don't turn away kids because of financial requirements.
Right.
No. And Special Olympics doesn't allow you to charge. It's all free programming. So whatever we don't fundraise ourselves, Special Olympics Massachusetts supplements, pays for. You know, they don't turn anybody down either because of money.
What does it cost roughly to run a Special Olympics program?
For per individual?
Well,
or?
no, when I sit there and say we're 31,000 people, that's the size of our town. What does it cost to run a proper Special Olympics program? Is
So
it
fundraising and
All in.
et cetera, I would say 40,000 a year. But that's including uniforms, you know, games fees, facilities fees, traveling, paying someone to run it.
But 40,000 out of a budget of 150 million doesn't sound like a lot. That's actually very
Just for the
encouraging.
Special Olympics, that's it.
We've also been the recipient of the Doug
Grants.
Flutie grant.
Yeah, we just
You
got-
know, we just got another one, but that's helped to fund programming too.
Yeah, the Doug Flutie grant. Doug Flutie's been really great about funding our unified art program, and then they just gave us a grant for the store to do more vocational training. So we're going to bring the students from Milford High down to the store. We already have them once a week, but now we're going to bring them down on the day when we're not open, so we can do a lot more training instead of, you know, that when people are in and out and they're working, that's a whole different. We want to get them in there when we're not open and train them once a week too. So we got a grant to do that also.
Just another way that people can help. You know, again, back to the volunteers. You know, when I talk to kids in their National Honor Society, they have to put hours in. For the love of God, how much easier can it be than hanging around kids your own age, going to a dance, and all of that helps and counts for the National Honor Society.
Yeah, but I think that it's there's opportunities for more than just that, because National Honor Society is not that big of a group. That, you know, we have opportunities for anyone that wants to volunteer. That's the thing. But we run into, we have, you know, we need more volunteers, which is true. But there's a lot of pressure on kids to work, play a sport, and study, and, you know, in today's world. So
But you
it's a little
know,
different.
we've gone through different opportunities for kids, and some of the kids who are just starting high school, the Connections program, where we're tutoring kids. I've told students, you got to start now, because college admissions people are not the dumbest people in the world. If they see that you did nothing freshman, sophomore, junior year, and all of a sudden you load up senior year, they know that's disingenuous. But if you show that you've been on Special Olympics for 3-4 years in a row, best buddies, or you've done good deeds for your community year after year, it all counts. And I can tell you, when I was on, well, every year we do a scholarship program at Holy Cross. And the difference between the grades, you can't even tell. I remember one time we were going through 30 kids, and I looked at one and I said, well, this guy's a bum. Throw him out. He said, what? I said, and this girl, she's worse. Look at him. He got a B in phys ed freshman year. And she got a B and a B plus. So they're obviously slackers. And everybody looked at me. I said, I'm kidding, you realize. But every kid had a 4 point something as a cum. So you looked and you said the grades. I can't really say that Lisa's 4.2 is better than your 4.1. But I can look and say, what else did the kid do for the community? So again, if parents are watching, encourage your child to get involved.
Yeah, I agree.
And get involved freshman year so it shows a pattern.
And our Aaron Zenas Foundation gives scholarships to dedicated volunteers, like you said, that have been there freshman, sophomore, junior, senior year.
Talk to me about Aaron Zenas Foundation.
So the Aaron Zenas Foundation was created in 2020, named after Aaron, a former Stacy Middle School student who passed away. His grandfather and I wanted to do more for individuals with intellectual disabilities. We had already had like a nonprofit, the Friends of Milford Area Special Athletes, but that was all about Special Olympics and scholarships, and we wanted to do more. So we decided to start the Aaron Zenas Foundation, still do the Special Olympics, the scholarships, and do the vocational and programming, unified art programming and things like that to offer our individuals more services than we already had. And so the foundation is what supports the store in downtown Milford, Sweet Inspirations. It fundraises and funds the majority of our Special Olympics programs, and it also does our unified art.
You know, it's amazing the dedication of the people. Now, if you're a mother, of course you're going to do everything in the world for your son. But there's people that don't have direct kids that help other families.
Right.
I mean, I remember being in the media center one winter night. It sounds like a cliche, but it was November and cold, and a family walked in, and it was a mother and 3 kids. They didn't have what I call proper coats. We didn't know what to do. We called somebody in the middle of the night and said, what can we do? And Lisa went out of her way to make sure that these kids got the coats and everything they needed. Now, you're not being paid at 9:30 at night.
No.
You know, but it was just an indication of how deep the compassion goes in this town.
And when you're passionate about what you do too, when you're passionate about what you do and you care and you're invested, it doesn't matter the time of day.
Right. And I think going back to the town, we have an amazing people who live in this town.
Community's
The
amazing.
community
Yep.
is unbelievable. You just put out a request for something, and immediately people are right there supporting, families and whatever they need. And you see that with our athletes too. A request is put out there, and sometimes you have more than what you even expected. And I think that's what makes Milford so special. And, Jed and I, we sit on boards of other towns and other school districts. And when I bring up Milford and the work we do here and the dedication of our community, people are astounded.
They're blown away.
They can't believe that you could just put out a request and all of a sudden you could get 300 coats. It really is amazing, but it talks about, like you said, it's the dedication in our community. People really love being here. They love the children, and they want to help. And I think that says it all.
I feel that way about the Special Olympics and the Sweet Inspirations. It wouldn't be where it is today without a huge community. You can't do those things without many volunteers and many passionate people, and you just can't. And this Milford community has always been 100% behind all of that programming.
Well, it makes me feel good when you compare us to Lynn, Lowell,
Oh, yeah.
population-wise. Because they're much bigger than we
So they're
are.
much bigger.
And here we are, we're leading the way. Once again, Milford's leading the way.
We honestly have the other day I was with the president of Special Olympics, and she said that the Milford program is the best program that they have in the state.
Oh, wow.
And just to throw in there too, we had an opportunity,
Oh, yeah.
thanks to Jen, to meet with New Balance. So there was 5 of us, 5 Milford families, and our Milford athletes, all pretty well-known students that you probably know from Milford. And we sat with a designer from New Balance along with a couple of other families from other towns, and our kids were able to talk about their shoes and what they like about them and what hurts and why they struggle getting shoes, and their voices were listened to, and they're designing a shoe that's going to meet the needs of special athletes. And it was amazing to see our special athletes sitting there, raising their hands, giving their opinion. And out of there was probably 10 athletes, and 6 of them were Milford athletes sitting there with families. So that was a big honor. We were one of them. I was like a big honor to sit there. But I think it talks about not only where Milford's going, but it also talks about Jen's work throughout the years to get Milford out there and recognized. And like she said, we started out with 3 teams, and now we're being invited to New Balance.
We started out with 2, and then she went out of her way to figure a way of getting a
Got
3rd.
the big fish in. But yeah, and then we just the week before we were at the JFK Library because one of our athletes got a community advocate award, a big award by the state. Mm-hmm. So we all went to that and we supported her. It was Ashley Aldridge.
With her basketball.
She got it for all the work she does because they asked us to nominate someone from our program that you could not do your program without. And Ashley Aldridge is in my office every single day, doing data entry, tracking medical forms, helping me with the uniforms, doing inventory, getting them ready for each team.
I just remember the pageant when she got out there with the basketball.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Basketball's her favorite sport, and we're in that sport right now, so she's a happy girl. The Celtics won last night. She came in with her Celtics shirt on today.
We're looking at redoing the high school. Is there anything that we need to consider for the special needs community?
100%. We need more job training opportunities in the building. So a place where they could do laundry, a place where they can cook, a place where we could set up vocational training programs, more space and more opportunities for our individuals to train for jobs for when they leave.
Well, see, that's one of the big
and learn life
reasons
skills.
that I believe we're going to refurb the high school. Because if we build new, for all the right reasons, you sit there and say, where could you build?
Yeah.
Asylum Street. Oh my God. Can you imagine the traffic going up that super highway, Route 140? There's some reasons, but realistically, we're over the recommended or allowed square footage per student. So we would be cutting back if we built new. Whereas I'm hoping that we'll take an opportunity, we have a generational opportunity that we could build a field house. Now the money we're going to spend is ludicrous. It's going to be $170 million to refurb. I think it was Haverhill just came up with 441 to build a new school. 441 million. Brockton started with a B, $1 billion school. So the money we're going to spend is silly, but when I think of the programs you're running, if we had a proper field house, the kids wouldn't be running up and down the school hallways after school. You could expand your programs.
Yeah, it would be nice to not have to fight for space, which we do now. We have to advocate, we have to plan around, and we have to fight for space. It would be nice not to fight for space.
But again, the towns come through. I remember when
they do come through.
You didn't have basketball time. And Bobby Littleton down at the Evergreen Center. But he also gave us use of his soccer field.
Bobby Littleton, we use his fields for soccer, flag football, cheerleading. The Evergreen Center is very good to us. They're very good and supportive, and we have their individuals in our
And now Brooke's taken over, his daughter, so it should continue.
And they have a new CEO, too. They have a brand new CEO.
Oh. I thought that was Brooke.
No. They just said they just announced it.
Oh, okay. But when I think about it, people like the Littletons step forward. Because
when there's a need.
We didn't have a place for basketball. The youth center. I remember just asking Jen and crew, saying, you know, when we funded the renovation, you said you'd make it available to all Milford kids. We have a group that needs some basketball time. And I believe they made the time available. So from that end, talk to me about the other programs. Basketball, flag football.
So we have powerlifting. We have swimming, track and field, basketball, bowling, bocce, softball, soccer, cheerleading, rhythmic gymnastics, cornhole, cycling. Did I say softball? I don't know if I said softball. And flag football. So we have many different sports right now.
So it's pretty much a
Year
place
round.
for any athlete.
Right, and that's like bocce, bowling. You know, a lot of our individuals, as they get older, they don't want to be in a basketball team. They like to do bocce or bowling or an individual sport. Swimming, a lot of them love swimming. Swimming's a big one. Basketball's a big one. Bowling is like out. We take any space that pins will give us. So they give us so many lanes, we fill them every time. We don't have a problem. If they're gonna give us the whole place for every Monday night, we could fill it. Bowling's a very popular
But see,
sport.
there again, there's a Milford business
Yeah.
stepping up to help
Oh yeah,
the
they've
kids.
been really good to us at Pins. Really good to us.
And that's the kind of place that, since they're being good to our kids, you hope that people will fund their business and help them
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
What are the biggest challenges you see coming forward
The biggest challenges as far as
to running the program?
Well, right now it takes two of us, Ashley and I, but she's a pro because she's been around so long. Volunteers is the biggest challenge. And so, you know, when you run into, there's a lot more that goes into it than just running the programs. You know, you fundraise, we need people to work one-on-one with individuals, sometimes on a team. So we need individuals to play on teams with our students, but we do pretty good at that part, but some years are more challenging than others, you know, you go through spurts, but volunteers is the biggest thing, because you can't do these programs without the community.
Now, it doesn't start at the high school anymore, right?
No, they started age 3 with our young athletes program. We have 3 to 7 young athletes, and we have our school day games. You know, we're trying to expose all our individuals and give them opportunities at a young age too.
3 years old?
Well, it's just skills,
Right.
playing
Well,
games,
no, but I
learning
mean, the
about-
fact that, you know, you think about it, when I grew up in Milford, you were done with school, you ran home, you grabbed a ball and a bat, and you went to the Portuguese picnic grounds, and the kids in the Heights got together. Now, my God, everything has to be so regimented and set up. So the fact that a 3-year-old, I mean, that's great, because not only did you get the kids involved, obviously they're not driving, so the parents have to be involved.
Right. And that's a nice way too, because then you meet other parents, you know, who have children who have special needs too. And it's almost like it's this unspoken like club you're a part of. Like you look at each other, you're like, oh, I get it. It's okay. It's okay. Your kid is hitting my kid. I get it because I'm there too. And it's nice because you form these relationships with families. And, you know, I know for myself, I love when I see older students, you know, that are 22, 23, and I've seen how they've grown throughout the years, and I think of where my child is, and I'm like, wow, you know, someday he's going to be like that because of all the opportunities he has. And sometimes when you're, you know, a new parent with a child with disabilities, there's no book, right? There's no book when you become a parent for any parent, but especially when you have a child with a disability, you're kind of like, I'm alone in this. Like, I don't know what to do. This is kind of scary. And it's nice to build those relationships with families who get it, who understand, and to see, like, wow, look how far this child has come. And maybe I'm struggling right now, and Jen would say this to me all the time. When he turns 15, he's going to turn the corner. He is turning the corner, but now he's into, you know, wants a girlfriend, a cell phone. Like,
It's just different.
it's a different corner. But I remember, you know, thinking back, like, wow, it's really difficult right now. Is it going to get better? And then you look at these children who it is better for them, and
But
that's
see,
what
again,
you get.
Typical. Because when you think about it, when I was coaching the girls, one of the major benefits was the great introductions. Because you're a parent, you're standing on the sidelines, you get to meet, I don't know how many people that have just moved to Milford and have told me, well, I meet everybody at the soccer field. And I'm sure football and baseball are always the same. But I think the biggest thing is what you said. Oh my God, there's another kid doing the same thing mine does.
Yeah,
Right.
it's nice to know.
You know? I don't have to worry that my child is so unique that they're doing these weird things, because your child's doing it too.
Right.
And you know what else is nice to see, Al? A lot of our older athletes, now that they're older, they come to the practice for the younger children, and they volunteer and they help and they mentor, and then they go to their practice. So we have many athletes that are volunteering to coach and then going and playing on their
See,
team.
that's special because it's a role model.
Yeah.
You know, a Caleb can
Right.
look up and say, when I turn 15 or 17 or 19, I'm going to be able to do what he does or she does.
And he does look up to them.
He does.
We took him to a wrestling meet the other night because he wanted to see an older student wrestle, and he walked in and I told Lisa when I brought him home, I said, he just ditched me. He went right in the bleachers with all his friends. I was like, and he's high fiving everybody, talking to everybody, totally typical. Had a blast, cheered on his friend. It was an amazing. It's
But again,
amazing to see.
Being ignored as a parent, typical.
It was
right.
It was great.
Right.
I just
You know, I
was
mean,
like,
it's
Absolutely.
terrible to say I'm glad Caleb ignored
no,
you,
it was
but
great.
You know, and to know that he's like accepted, like you would just want to
Yeah,
cry. Like
that
as a
was the
parent,
great
you just
part.
want to cry. You're like,
I'm
wow,
like,
you
Lisa,
know,
you went
I
right
have a
in.
typical high school student. You
Yeah.
know, he just mingles right in.
He went right in, did his thing, had a blast.
and again, the typical kids can have such a profound impact
They did.
Yeah.
They do.
because by doing nothing more than accepting a special needs kid as a kid, they're helping a lot.
Fist pumping him, high fiving him, acknowledging him when he's there. I mean, he had to have at least 20 students come up or go by him and say hello.
Yeah, and as you
Awesome.
think about it, the teachers have such an impact.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they do.
You know,
But
it's,
they encourage that and they nurture those kind of skills in their classroom,
Right.
and in the lunchroom, and in the other classes that the students go to.
And you know what it is? They don't limit them, and I think
They don't
that's
limit them,
that's
yeah.
important, right? Because a lot of times when you think disability, there's always this like, oh, there's a low expectations,
Yeah.
not going to be able to do it, and and our teachers, absolutely not. They don't see it that way. They're pushing them. They're setting the bar high. They have high expectations for them, and that's why they're able to thrive the way they do because of those expectations.
well, I remember years ago that a lot of the special needs classes in the high school weren't passing MCAS. And it just took somebody to come in to say, no, these kids can do it, and push them, and all of a sudden, all but one or two that
Yeah.
year passed MCAS.
Right.
And it's just the motivation.
Right, and as a student, if you believe that your teacher believes in you and that you're going to succeed, then you are going to succeed. But if you don't have that person that says, you know what, I don't care, you're going to do this, it may take you a little longer than everyone else, but you're going to get there, and I'm going to be with you every step of the way, and some days are going to be hard, and some days are going to be easy, but you're going to do it. That motivates any child. Think about it. If you have a classroom
Yeah.
like that, your students are going to thrive, regardless of socioeconomic status, disability. They're going to thrive because someone believes in them, and that's so important.
Well, again, my hat is off to the teachers in general, but to the special needs teachers who get punched, bit, kicked, not intentionally, and come back every other day. Come back the next day for more.
What Lisa and I always say, and Lisa's behavior is communication.
Right.
Just another way of trying to communicate.
Yeah, well, I mean, but the physical attributes, somebody could swing their arm and hurt somebody. They don't mean it.
No.
Right.
Like I said, if my kids on the soccer field weren't doing what I wanted to, it was always omission, not commission. I didn't explain it well enough. They didn't understand what I was asking.
Right.
You know, I mean, it was such a difference because when you got a team full of 12 and 13-year-old girls, there was rebellion just for the sake of rebellion. And then you'd go to the special needs kids and it was like, oh wow, this is a lot easier.
You know, you bring up a good point now because I think, you know, the educators, they love the students so much. I think every educator loves their students. But I think, you know, they stop and reflect, like, how can I reach the student better? The student may be, you know, hitting me and I know that's not their intention. So how can I reach them better? How am I going to help them be a better person? What are they trying to tell me that I may be missing out? And that's what those educators do. And that's why they come back again and again and again, because they want to make that difference. They care so much, and they believe in the children.
And I'm always amazed because the aides, I mean, a lot of these kids need one-on-one or one-on-two, and we pay the aides such a massive amount of money. I mean, someday, if it wasn't for the passion they have, they could go learn to say, do you want fries with that order and make more money. I think we pay the aides $100 a day. You make more at Dunkin' Donuts. So it's not the money that's driving these people.
Passion.
It's the passion of helping the kids.
Trying to make a difference, trying to set them up to succeed.
It's got to feel so great when you see how many kids you've affected, how many lives you've changed. And again, for the volunteers, I can tell you straight out, I got more from the kids than I ever put into the kids. And the parents kept telling me how appreciative they were. And you feel like saying, don't. Because I'm pretending I'm doing this for the kids. I'm doing it for me as much as I am for the kids. Any last words to the community?
Anyone that we're looking for volunteers all the time. We're looking for them at the store. If you're into a candy store and you want to help us with our work at the candy store, we're looking for volunteers with our Special Olympics programming. Or if you just want to reach out and talk and see what might be a good match for yourself, to reach out to myself, or Lisa can also refer you my way anytime, and we will take we will talk with anybody about our programming. If you have a child with an intellectual disability and you live in Milford and you need our help, even if you don't live in Milford, we'll send you the right direction to get you the help you need.
And I think too, you know, if you want to volunteer, you don't have to be an athlete. I said that to my niece. My niece is an athlete, but basketball isn't her thing, and she wanted to get out there with Caleb, and it would be a sport, a special moment between the cousins. And I said, look, can you run up and down the court? She's like, yep. I'm like, can you help move the ball? Yep. I'm like, you're going to be fine. That's all you need. And she did basketball this year, and I can't tell you, she absolutely loved it. I think she's going to be doing track. And she said, you know, Auntie, I'm glad you told me I didn't need to be that athlete. That I just had to go and have fun with the kids. And she exchanged her phone numbers with the other athletes, and they call her and text her. So, again, you don't need to be an athlete. You just need to have fun.
And to the people who are watching, 2 takeaway messages. 1, don't do it on your own. It's hard enough bringing up kids. We've all faced it. But if you have a special needs kid, get involved, because you'll find other mothers, other fathers, and you'll find out that you're not so special, that your kids are doing the same thing that every kid is doing. But it'll help you get through it. And the second thing is, if you're in Milford, you're pre-programmed to want to help our kids, call Jen at the high school, call Lisa, volunteer, whether it's moving a bocce ball, swimming, doing any of the events. Get involved, because from one old man, I can tell you I definitely got more out of the kids than I ever put in. And as always, to our 6 loyal viewers, may God bless, may tomorrow be a better night than tonight, and bless you, thank you for everything you do for our kids.
Thanks.
Good night, all.